What's going on, everybody? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. It's Friday. We're up for a Friday session. Some of my favorites. Looking forward to sharing that with you all today. Hope everyone is ready for the session ahead. Brandon's talking about it's time to make money, and that it is. The analysis you put in is the most important piece of your entire investment and trading career. Let's get to that right now. Great to see you all. Great to have you all here. Nice, John. Thanks for being here with us. Long Island representing this morning. We got everyone here on Friday. Yeah, South Africa. All right, everyone. Looking forward to it. I have someone mentioned that we were looking at the NASDAQ back in 2000, and there's good reason for it. Now, this is a bubble. All right, let me come back over here. Let's look at a bubble real quick. Why would we want to be looking at bubbles? Well, we are in a bubble. We are in a bubble right now. And how much longer that's going to last? Well, that's a whole nother question. In my opinion, this bubble is just getting going. We'll see. But over here, you can see this is back the last year is really when the NASDAQ went ballistic, because prior to that last year, look at this thing. This is the NASDAQ prior to the last 2 years when it went parabolic. Look at this 8-year uptrend over here. And don't think any of this was easy for anyone. Think about all the traders the whole time looking for that top, that whole 8 years, any pullback. And just to give you and myself some type of indication, that right there, you're looking at a 17% pullback. It looks like one of the steepest. Yeah, this is a little bit steeper. Yeah, you're looking at a 16% pullback. All right, now let's get to the bubble territory. Not that wasn't a bubble. That's a nice bull market over here. Then you can see the last 2 years. That's when price really went crazy. And during that price going crazy over here, this is probably the longest pullback. It is less than 30%. Now, I bring that up for a reason. You're going to see that in 1 second when we're talking about the distances of the pullback. It looks like the steepest pullback was 30%. That's rough estimate. And then over here, it goes down 40%. That was the first sign that the bubble had burst after the 40% correction, 39, whatever, 40% correction, right? And then what happened from there is price goes on an enormous rally, right? Price trades up. Well, let's see. From the low it puts in a few days later, price trades up 40%. Once the low of that 40% rally is taken out, once that low is taken out over here, that's it. That was the place to get short the NASDAQ, and that led to this is the .com bust. You see how that played out though? That was a bubble. This is really important because we're in a bubble right now. We're going to be going hopefully into a bubble in Bitcoin, right? And gold and precious metals, and the Fed's blowing that bubble. We're going to be looking at that. But what I am noticing here, it wasn't until the 40% correction and then that huge 40% rally, once that low was taken out, that's when it was time to go ahead and get short the NASDAQ. The reason I bring that up is because right here on Bitcoin, this is, everyone recognizes this. This is not everyone recognizes this. This is the 2017 December top in Bitcoin. This is the bursting of the bull market cycle over here. If you go back, and that's why I have this chart here, these are all of the drawdowns during the bull cycle in Bitcoin, the bull market in the past one. And you could see that we had quite a few. These are 40% drawdowns over here. 40% drawdowns, and NASDAQ was looking at the max drawdown of 30%, right? And then over here, when we came to the top of the bubble, let's look how far we pulled down. We pulled down 46%, which was the biggest drawdown to date. And then after that, so that's the biggest drawdown, 46%. The other two drawdowns, the biggest ones, were 39%, nothing over 40%. You know, generally 30% was the common, 30% was the common, and there were two that were 39%, 40%, and it wasn't until Bitcoin had that 47% drawdown, 48% drawdown, and then just like on the NASDAQ when the bubble was bursting, had a huge rally. In this case, it's 60%. NASDAQ rallied 40%, and again, once that low. And by the way, this is the difference between Bitcoin and the NASDAQ. And this is really where the drawdown was really 36%. And then because of liquidity and whatnot on Bitcoin, you could see it spiked down. But that spike down was intraday. This was, when this spiked down to 10,000, this was bought up. You know, it rose 40% within the same day off the low. So, you know, just throwing that out there. But the point is, and then when you break the low, whether you have it at the low over here or if you use the spike low down here, that was the time to get short on Bitcoin. That was the time to get short on Bitcoin for the bear market. That's a bubble. Come in handy. It's going to come in handy as we look for where the top of the markets are. Because if you look here at the S&P 500, right, this is not a bubble. This is not even close to being a bubble right now, right? What about the NASDAQ? Is this a bubble? Well, you know, you can make the case that this is a bubble, but I think we got a long way to go. Why do I say that? By the way, what was different about this when we looked at the NASDAQ back in 2000 over here? What was different about this bubble bursting to where we are today? And there's a huge difference, and that is ever since this day over here, ever since December 2008, right over here, this is when the Fed first started QE. And then watch asset prices. Watch what happens to stocks when the Fed starts QE. And you could see, look at this, and it doesn't stop here. It keeps going, and it went all the way through here to February of 2000. Look at this. This is the Fed blowing an asset bubble, and here pops. Pop. There it popped. And what happened right down there? What was that drawdown, by the way? Something I want to always remember. That was a 30% drawdown. 30% drawdown. We looked back at the Nasdaq. No, this is the Nasdaq during the .com leading up to the .com. It was after the 30% drawdown. Let me show it to you right here. It was after the 30% drawdown over here. By the way, I'm enjoying this session, and if you are as well, please go ahead and smash that like button. Help the Google algorithm know that people should be paying attention to this channel. This was the 30% drawdown over here in this area that we looked at. We looked at this together, and that was the 30% drawdown. And then from there, people probably thought the Nasdaq was trading pretty high over here, and it was. But from there, the next year is when it really went ballistic. Could that be happening right here, right now? As we, this was the 30% drawdown. Are we about to enter, the bull market, the epic portion of the bull market? If you ever listen to Sven, this is Sven from Northman Trader, right? A lot of you must be familiar with him, and we'll talk about this for a minute right over here. But before we do that, there was a comment. But yeah, bubbles will run until they burn themselves out. And this is the thing, bubbles will run, right? And you have to wonder where you are in the phase right now. Are you in the part of the phase where the bubble is burning itself out? Or is this just getting started? The Fed just started QE right here, by the way. The Fed started QE over here back in March of 2020. And you can see that is the big difference going back over to 2000, right? When this bubble burst over here, is that QE wasn't really started all the way to 2008. Right over here, December of 2008 is when QE starts, and then this thing goes off. QE's just started up again. Think about it. What happens to stocks when the Fed is printing money? Right. So, by the way, back to Sven. This is, by the way, I believe we're looking at here at FANG, and you're seeing 16% gains. Hold on one second. Yeah, 5 stocks just added $500 billion to market cap in 6 days, right? Bubble. Sven is really good to keep track of, because he really does help in finding out when the market top is. If you remember back in going back to February, he was one of the first to spot the top over here, right? As we were all over that. That's when we first started trading to the downside. But Sven also got out of the market really quickly, right? He'd been spending all this time looking for the top of the market. Why you should have been long stocks for the whole entire ride and then know when to get out. But when you got out, you gotta push that trade, right? When was the time to start getting long? Well, that was, remember, March, right? Hindsight is always easier, but is to learn from. Back when the day that the Fed started QE, that was the bottom. What else do I want to see over here? I mean, look at this. I'm not saying anyone should be stepping in to buy at these levels. And by the way, the last time that we were looking at buying the markets over here was when we leaned into this support over here on June the 28th. That was the last time we were looking at being active buyers, right? And then, you get to manage the trade. I got out of the trade over here before July 4th. Other people held that trade. Look at that gift. You got to push those trades. You're still people buying up here because we're bullish. Well, you're trading behind the curve. You're just trading behind the curve. And the thing about trading is you got to get ahead of the curve. Here you see on the S&P 500, price now is holding the support at 31.23, resuming upwards and into the mid resistance line right now. Price is currently completely neutral, right? In our channel over here, it's dead center. completely neutral, although above 31.23 and holding that support. That is absolutely bullish. I lean bullish. Am I looking to pick up S&Ps over here on Friday morning? No, no. But that looks good. What else is going on? The dollar has been a wild ride, but ultimately has been rejected again at 97. That's what going into yesterday's live session. That's exactly what we said. What we were looking to happen. That's exactly what we said, and it happens. First, I'm noticing that. Gold again holding that 1800, holding the breakout with authority. Now resuming up over here. Was that an opportunity to position into gold? If you're not into gold, 3-day, has been marching upwards. Gold is definitely overbought over here. Overbought, could remain overbought. Now, what do you do as far as positioning into gold? It's buy off support, right? This support over here at 1723, I think that is about 3% from where we are right now at market, and it's 5%. All right, 5%. This one 7% down. These two supports. Are we going to see that type of pullback on gold? I think if you saw a 3% pullback on gold right now, that would be a buying opportunity. And if you're not in gold right now and you're looking to trade the paper stuff, price is making a higher high right now again. So, the move already has been going on. The breakout, everything looks really bullish. Silver too, taking another peek here at 19. Precious metals continuing to thrive. Bitcoin, not so much. Bitcoin came back and, well, I shouldn't say that. Well, I should say that. You could see silver still lagging, as is Bitcoin. Gold trading at these new 8-year highs, approaching all-time highs. Bitcoin over here is still holding, though, this 91 level, right? It has not tested 9,000, holding 91, right? Holding 91, a small wick behind there. And this goes back. We haven't traded below 89, going back to just after the halving, a couple of weeks after the halving. This was days after the halving. We had this 20%, 19% pullback over here, right? And this was right after that. That's when we were buyers there. What happens now? Yeah, I mean, if you're not in Bitcoin, I think we're going up from here. If you're not in Bitcoin, I think we're going up from here. Nice to see the markets rallying again on Friday. There's no reason for us to even think about selling. Again, when it's time to sell, it'll be clear. You have people like Sven, right? And this, breakdown of this chart, it does bring a leg down, right? As you can see, and this is by the way, this is only 2018 to present, right? So you're missing the entire bull market on this chart, which started 10 years earlier. But look what happens during this bull market. That all this is every time you have these patterns, right? Price falls back, but then climbs up, right? So even if you fall back over here, maybe the Nasdaq comes back towards 9,800 or 10,000, or doesn't even test, as low as 10,000 again. But you could get a breakdown over here, and then that's when you got to watch for the next leg up. That's where I'm leaning. Right now, as the Fed is printing, and stocks go up. So let me catch in a couple of comments with you all as I take a sip of my matcha tea. This podcast is sponsored by matcha. This is ceremonial grade matcha. It makes a big difference from drinking regular matcha tea. The taste is like levels higher. It's a great antioxidant. It's alkaline for your body, and as well as opposed to like an espresso or a coffee where you have this initial caffeine boost and then crash. The matcha is more of a leveled out, steady caffeine neat. What are my thoughts on if Biden ends up winning the election? Then he wins the election. how would that affect the markets in the short term? That's an interesting question. If how would it affect if you remember the night Trump was elected, that was one of the best days for trading in my 20-year career. And would I expect something similar? So the thing about that was that a different candidate was expected to win, or at least the general consensus was that a different candidate was going to win. And then that night, when there was a surprise, the markets were caught on the wrong side of the trade, and then there was enormous reaction. Now, with that, if the markets are already pricing in a Biden win, and then Biden wins, you're not going to see any type of market reaction, right? If the markets are pricing in a Biden win, and then Trump wins, you'll see a market reaction. If the markets are pricing in a Trump win and then Biden wins, you will see a big market reaction. That would be the biggest market reaction if Trump was expected to win and then Biden won. That would be a big market reaction. But you also have to understand when it comes to the election, and we're very far out from that, so we don't really need to be talking about that. But we're looking at all these mail-in ballots, and that means we're not going to have an election night winner. That means that it could be months possibly before we know the winner of the presidential election. And the markets are not going to like that at all. The markets would not like uncertainty. They never do. And that would be a drag on everything. Boom. Yeah. Thank you. I don't have the bottle over here. I don't have my little matcha case thingy over here, but I'll bring it up tomorrow or on Monday rather, Chad, and I'll let you know. Yeah, definitely, Danny. We'll start this off right now looking at the euro, Japanese yen. We're going to start that with the euro, Japanese yen. Jordan, could you talk about the second market crash and where will you be looking to buy in that scenario? I'm not looking for the markets to crash right now. The markets just crashed back in March, and I'm not seeing any signs of that happening right now. If you look back at this chart over here, it could stay within this pattern and continue to rise. It's just over here on the RSI, just reaching 69. It's not yet in any type of level. As you can see over here, this is when price is overbought, and this is when price can make some really, really extended moves, and price is not even overbought over here. This could continue going up for a while, and this wouldn't be a crash. This would just be a correction. If we got a 5%, a 7% correction on the NASDAQ, that would be a place to step in, right? I think, in my opinion, right, to share my thoughts here with y'all. Glad to be doing that, though, at the same time. So euro, Japanese yen, let's check it out. Ooh, lucky man, Max. Banana cake with matcha tea. Ooh. I'm not sure, Gene, what day you're talking about. You have to let me know. GP, glad you're with us here now. Right? Right? The banana cake. Thanks, Brian. That was handled very delicately, wasn't it? All right. First, euro, Japanese yen. What's happening over here? Broken out of the channel. I think it was Wes who was watching the breakdown over here. It must feel good because he recognized it right over here, to be able to recognize what is happening, right, and not have to take the trade. But what happened is we came down into the support. Look where my support line is marked over here at 120.58. Is that 120.58? Yeah, 120.58, right? I was using the tops of these wicks over here. I was using the tops of these bodies over here, the touch over here, and the touch over there. Look where the market is showing me right now became support, right? And then if I go over here, I could see that was support also. This was the bottom of those candles, right? You see how that is fluid, right? So I'm adjusting. And that's where we came down to into that support. It's that line that we need to break down a break below the support would open up then the downside here on the Euro Japanese yen. The first signal of that happening was the break of this channel. But as you come into the support over here, even though you broke out this channel, you're looking to buy on any resumptions over here. So technically, this is still clean here. This still has the bullish bias here where you could take longs off this support. If this support breaks though, however, I think then you want to be looking to the downside here on the Euro Japanese yen. Yeah, let's take a look at the Australian dollar, US dollar. It's Friday over here. All right, we have a way bigger. I didn't think we had that many people in here. We have 770 people in here. I thought we maybe have about 500, 600 with the 233 likes. I really liked that little bit of a thought experiment we had to go through this morning. Really appropriate for getting that perspective of where we are. When I talk about where we are is the Fed just started QE. The Fed just started QE. We had pulled back 30%. So coming out of a 30% pullback with that juice, right? A lot of people looking for the market top over here. Again, if the market's topping, we're going to be there. Australian dollar, US dollar, this also coming down into this level of support and now resuming off of it. Just like the Euro Japanese yen, it maintains of that very bullish structure to it. This is extraordinarily bullish. Look at this chart over here, right? You can see it consolidating towards the top, looking for a breakout of the 0.7 resistance above, and still looks good. What has to happen for this to become, bearish, right? Well, if I pull back, could someone make the case, as we have been always, that we could sell into resistance up here? You could do that, but I would be waiting for some type of signal that we have risk off in the markets. And even with the corona virus situation being whatever it is right now, with the highest amount of cases in the world growing and continuing to grow at an exponential rate, and that hasn't changed since the beginning. Like, we understood the math back in February, which is why we got concerned, because we understood the math back then. So it is what it is. But, here, at least things are bad in Mexico. I get to play tennis a couple times a week with a pulmonary doctor. And just starting 2 weeks ago was finally, since 2 months ago, when he's like, yeah, things are starting to get bad at the hospital, where he's like, things are kind of lightening up now. Actually, the cases that we see aren't nearly as severe as they were going back 3 and 5 weeks ago. So I mean, what's going to happen? What's going to happen, by the way, if we get any type of breakdown over here? And by the way, this was a big one. This was a big crisis. You're looking at only a small data point. You're missing the 10-year bull market ahead of this. But normally, when you have that, 5-7% drawdown, boom, from there it goes back up. That's the type of mindset you need to have. Now, if you look at the Japan markets, by the way, if you look at what happened to the markets in Japan in the early 90s, that's where they peaked out, their equity markets. Is it possible that our equity markets could be peaking out here? Well, at some point, yes, I believe that we will see a top, unless we go Venezuela style. I don't think we're going Venezuela style. And the reason I brought up Venezuela is because their stock market was trading at all-time highs as their currency and economy just went to nowhere. The United States is not Venezuela by any means whatsoever. We also control the world's reserve currency. 70% of all trade is done in US dollars. It's just a different situation. I think we have much further upside over here in this experiment of monetary expansion that we currently are in. It's just the environment we're in. The printers are just getting warmed up. Boom, 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 boom. So, interesting comment left on last night's YouTube video, and it was a comment left about Tesla after having, I don't know if it was 4 or 5 quarters of profitability, is eligible to enter into, I forgot, read the comment. It's on the channel, on the video. really interesting. And these indexes, whether it's the S&P, the Nasdaq, the Dow, are rebalanced, and basically they're going with companies that are producing profits and growing in market cap. And then once those companies get added to the index, guess what? They need to be bought up. That continues to rise in value. That's why index versus individual stocks, makes sense. Boom, boom, boom. I'm trying to catch up on some comments over here. By the way, it is Friday. Glad you are here. Glad you're here. Giles, US 100 gold. I'm not familiar with what that is. Are you looking at the NASDAQ 100 versus gold? I don't know. I don't know if it's. Do you have a symbol for that? If you have a symbol for that, I'll pull that up. Is the symbol US 100 gold? No. What's going on, John? Glad you're here this morning. Yeah, yeah. I'm a tennis player, snowboarder, runner, uh, road biker, bicyclist, and also my favorite sport is ice hockey. Yeah, so I mean, Reza, we've looked at this pretty extensively, and I think what it comes down to is that there is a correlation between the stock market and Bitcoin. However, when Bitcoin's going through its bull and bear phases in its 4-year cycle, there's a big disconnect during that year, during about a year period. Whether it's the year of the bull market, in this case, will be 2021, right? So whether it's from January, February, or March to October, November, December, or January, during that period, that 12-month period, there's going to be a big disconnect between Bitcoin and the S&P. And then also shortly thereafter, as Bitcoin goes on that bear market bust, during that bust, there's any way you look at it, there's going to be a big disconnect between the correlation in the S&P and Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is just making too big of moves at that point. The gold and silver ratio, it's catching up over here, by the way. What else do we want to look at? We're going to check out some currency pairs in a moment. The gold to silver ratio scares me at 96.5. If speculator predators are tired and use the calculator and go back to 100 to 1, silver will plunge to 18 fast and hard. Let's talk about actually silver at $18. That is a good lead in here, Max. And silver right now is trading, testing 19, trading 1873. If silver went down to 18, that's your buyer, right? You don't have do you have a stop loss in 18? That seems very, very, very tight. Where would you be wrong on silver that you'd want to have a stop loss in right now, where you would say, all right, we're not breaking out to new highs, we're actually dumping, and maybe we're coming back and we're testing 1563, right? What technically would have to be happening, and yeah, 17. You said 18, but 17, right? And specifically, if you broke 1680, then I would be very worried about what could possibly going on here in the markets. But right now, a pullback to 18, well, that's great. I think it would be buyers over there. But when you're talking about a bubble, it'll break at some point. Yeah, it's going to break at some point. But the thing about that, the thing about when it breaks is when it breaks, it's going to be clear that it's breaking. There's going to be a reason why it's breaking, like the coronavirus. But are we going to see insolvencies? That's the biggest risk right now in front of the market. I think that they're going to be able to keep these zombie corporations where we're not going to see any type of domino effect through the credit markets. I think they're going to be able to stay alive a lot longer than anyone could foresee, and that could be for decades. That could be for decades. And am I saying that this bull market that we're in is going to go now for the next decades? Absolutely not. I'm just trying to look in front of me. I'm trying to look at the next 12 to 24 months. And that's how I'm looking to position. Fed just started QE though. I don't see the markets crashing. Are we going to see anything that could perhaps lead to the markets crashing? Maybe, right? We'll see, and we'll be there. Um, Pound US dollar. Let's check it out. So we're seeing, by the way, this is more of a dollar story right now, and you're seeing the dollar weakening, being rejected at 97, now trading down to 96.60. Right? You saw that rejection over there, and that's really what's happening here on the pound US dollar. Is the pound is appreciating versus the dollar today. So not so interesting as far as the pound. It's a dollar story. Um, Not much else to say over there. Are you again? Being that it's a dollar story, right? Where does the dollar go from here? Until we break 97.73, where we topped out twice last week, right? We have to lead towards the continued weakness on the dollar. If we break above there, that might get us saying, all right, well, it looks like we're starting to make a leg up right now. Dollars firming up. That's how we want to be positioned. Right now, you want to continue to be positioned against the dollar. Is the pound, the place to do that? I don't know about that, right? Gold, though, with the weak dollar, gold is loving the weak dollar. Notice that we've looked at extensively in this current environment throughout 2020 how when the dollar is rising, gold was also rising. Gold was rising against the rising dollar. We've looked at the chart before of between the dollar versus all fiat currencies, and the dollar continues on the bigger picture to gain against all other fiat currencies. And then you look at dollar gold, and gold is gaining against the dollar. Even when the dollar's strong, gold is putting up gains, and now you're looking at the dollar weakening and gold putting up gains. So, I don't know. Pound US dollar, gold US dollar. Pound Australian dollar. How about though? Right? Pound gaining. Wow. Pound actually, this looks pretty cool over here. Now I don't look to pick bottoms. This would be picking a bottom in my view. If you pull out far enough, was that support down? Well, clearly. Look at this. Just look to the left over there. Go back to 2018. You could see this line over here, support. Price came into. What about like where we live right now? What about where we live right now? What's happening? We're in a downtrend, right? Look to short off resistance in a downtrend. Where's our next resistance that we might want to look at? Is it all the way up there at 1.84249? Yeah, you also have a level down over here that's definitely becomes interesting as we get up into there. But right now, looking for a retrace into any type of resistance and looking to go ahead and sell against that. That's the pound Australian dollar. Thinking about NASDAQ and Amazon have potential to go up even more. Looking to move some long-term holding capital from Bitcoin to Amazon. You think I have a chance to see a lower Amazon Bitcoin in the next week, or do it today? Do I think so? Do I think in the next 12 months that Amazon is going to outperform Bitcoin? No way. No way. No way. No way. No way. Copper is the story, Will. That's true. Copper has been the story, outperforming all precious metals, right? Outperforming all precious metals is been copper. Playing or watching? Playing. Playing. Playing, playing, playing. But actually, ice hockey is one of the few sports that I'll watch. I also do like to watch tennis. I also like to watch a good American football game. I like beach volleyball and definitely like skiing in the Olympics. Road cyclist. Yeah, Kenny, I was born on Long Island, New York. I'm far behind your comments, I see. That's all right. US dollar. Corey wants to take a look at Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, and the US dollar, Mexican peso. I want to look here at the US dollar, Mexican peso. And so, man, if you're talking, this Friday. I'm not looking for new setups right now here. I'll be doing that over the weekend and putting out our weekly Forex forecast and analysis video. But right now, what I'm kind of looking at is some bigger themes. You can see our perspective is a little different this session today. I'm enjoying it. If you're enjoying this session, please go ahead, show me a little bit of love, hit that like button, show that you appreciate the time being spent here, what we're going over. Otherwise, we'll just rewind and flip back and go back to whatever. But here we are at the US dollar, Mexican peso. And I think what we're looking at over here, if we're going to see the markets continue to go risk on, and that's not to say without any type of corrections, and we've looked at what big and normal corrections look like earlier in this video. But over here, that could mean, right, we could see further dollar weakness. And if you're looking for further dollar weakness, I'm talking about like a 6-month time frame right now, right? The riskiest thing you could do would probably, like, safe would be gold, right? Risky, Mexican peso, but that has the potential to pay off pretty big. What happens if we break 2150? What happens if the S&P breaks the June highs, right? At that point, right? If the S&P breaks June's high, is it possible then that it's going to go up and test all-time highs? Well, the Nasdaq's trading at all-time highs. People probably wouldn't have believed that back in March, right? As the Nasdaq was trading all the way down over here, people probably wouldn't believe that the Nasdaq would then be trading at new all-time highs just a few months later. And we're still lagging here behind the June high on the S&P 500. But if we do break that June high, is it possible then we go on to test new all-time highs? I mean, yeah, of course it's possible. If that's happening, what's happening with the US dollar Mexican peso? US dollar Mexican peso is taking out 2150, and then, could we see 19? Could we see 20 again? Could we see 1950? All those things are interesting. That seems like, plus there's a nice swamp involved. You're talking about a trade that could last quite a while. There is a nice swamp involved. Something to think about and consider. The other one that Corey wanted to look at was the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Let's take a look at that. And this looks really great over here. Looks like it's continues to resume off the support. There was an entry earlier in the week down over here, perhaps down over here, depending on time of day. And now another one here during this session this morning. So yeah, it's all possibilities here at looking at playing along Australian dollar versus the Canadian dollar. And yeah, both those look good and healthy. But specifically the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Look at this. We were watching this for a while, right? Am I on the right pair? I don't even know. So I'm not gonna go there. But right there, this obviously is breaking out now above that resistance that it consolidated here for a long time. Broke out, consolidating above there, continues to be very, very bullish. Pound Swiss franc, Will. Let's check out the pound Swiss franc. Inverse head and shoulders Will's looking at, and you can see the left hand shoulder right over there. Then you can see over here the head and the right shoulder. This was the neckline. Break into the resistance. Boom. Retest the broken trend line. Resistance holding as support. Resuming up past the resistance. One entry over there. Pulled back. Another entry right over there as you resume up. This is our textbook, Will. This is a textbook conquering the markets. Breakout of resistance. pull back into the broken resistance, tested as support, and resumption. So nice pound Swiss franc, looking good and clean over there. Yep. So if you believe that Bitcoin is completely correlated to the stock market, which means if you believe that Bitcoin is completely correlated to the stock market, which means you ignore all past data, which shows otherwise, then you would believe that Bitcoin's going up, unless you believe the stock markets are going down. Huh. Vincent, excuse me. Euro, Swiss franc. Vincent, you for some reason you remind me of in the Avengers that the like perfect being. What was his name? Vision. Pound Swiss franc. Is that a descending wedge on the Euro Swiss franc? Let's check it out. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, looking at something like that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is definitely over here a consolidation pattern. And where's the breakout over here as we come up and test what is the resistance area right now? Was the entry down over here, Vincent, off support, right? Often, if you're playing a pattern, if you believe this is going to be a continuation pattern to the upside, right? At that point, what you're doing, you could be looking as you come into that lower area of support. So here, 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 and look to get into the long over there. Now, a clean entry into this is going to be a breakout, right? But it's this resistance right over here at 1.65. That's really important. And once you get above that, that's when you could look for the clean trade, right? So down towards the support is like the aggressive entry, and then this is the clean entry on that. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. So we got NASDAQ now down 0.5%. Markets mixed. Dow unchanged. And S&P up 0.15%. Yep. So dumping in my view, Andrew, dumping is like something's down 3%. Right? NASDAQ down 3%, NASDAQ's dumping. NASDAQ down 0.5%, nothing's happening. Yeah. What's going on, T. Boon Singh? What will break the current correlation between the S&P and Bitcoin? That is going to be that has a very specific time frame to it. That's going to be the first quarter of 2021. That's what's going to break the correlation between the S&P and Bitcoin, and it has everything to do. Let me show you. Please allow me one moment here to pull up something that could show everyone. We're going to look at Plan B stock to flow chart over here. Hopefully he has it pinned. He doesn't have it pinned. Let me go through the photos over here. There we go. This is what I wanted. This is what's going to break the correlation to the S&P and Bitcoin. And I want you to just focus in on over here on this area over here. These orange is when red goes to orange and before orange goes to yellow. You can see this little area over here again where red turns to orange and then orange turns to yellow. And that's this area over here, right? So it's about 35, it's about 15 months, right? I said the first quarter of 2021. We're talking May. I'm trying to go, how many months am I going? 15 months out from May. So that's next May. And then 5 more months. Oh, that's the peak. I'm sorry. I'm trying to time the peak of so sorry. I'm trying to time the peak of the bull market over here. Go back to this area over here. This looks to be about 38 months. So 1 year from the halving, 1 year from May, next May of 2021. So I was off by a quarter. That is exactly when we will see the correlation break between the S&P and Bitcoin. All right. So May of 2021, or you could say the second quarter of 2021. I said the first quarter meant January, February, March. That would be too early. In that point, will Bitcoin be rising against the S&P? Yeah, right. It's going to be rising by the S&P by a lot. So okay, you could say between the first and second quarter. All right. Jordan's a FOMO master. Copper is not does copper has monetary use, right? Copper is used in coinage. Um, so I'm not sure about the correct definite. I'm not sure how it would be considered or not. Absolutely no way. There's no way Amazon outperforms Bitcoin in the next 6 months. I actually got close family out of Amazon and into Bitcoin. Um, so yeah, of Dave, the New York Islanders. Now the New York Islanders. Oh man, it's tough being a New York Islander fan. It has been over 20 years since they've even been in the run. But however, prior to that, they had one of the greatest dynasties of all times. It is what it is. So this is a great question. Michael's asking, by the way, good morning to you too. What do I think about keeping cash as, yeah. So I think, BlockFi pays 8.6% if you're holding cash, right? Whether you're holding USDC or you're holding whatever the Gemini stable coin is. And 8.6% for holding cash is a good return, right? Especially if you're holding a lot of money. So what do, right? They're backed by Fidelity Investments. They're backed by Coinbase. They're backed by Gemini, and they're backed by Morgan Creek. Some big investors, backing BlockFi. Do I think it's safe to hold cash there at the top of the bull market? Right when we're talking about, all right, I'm now exiting Bitcoin. Right? When we get out over here of Bitcoin, is that a good idea? Well, the best thing if someone has right now, for example, let's say, for example, your trading account, let's say it was $3,000, what you had to trade FX, right? If you invest that money in Bitcoin or use like FX Choice right now and use an account in Bitcoin, based in Bitcoin, and growing that through FX, right? And then you have this big return on your money, right? So you said you get a 10, 15x on that because of the appreciation of Bitcoin. Now all of a sudden, instead of trading a 3,000 FX count, you're trading, a 30 or $40,000 FX count. You've increased your distance to your end goal of being able to have a sufficient income off of your FX trading, right? Drastically, right? So it would not make sense not to do that in my mind. But at that point, would I put that into 8.6 interest rate? I would hope by the time you're transferring out of Bitcoin into dollars that you would be able, and if you're not, definitely work with me in the program, that you would be able to have a better return than that in trading FX. And I would just move into a dollar account, right? Now, if you are holding a significant amount of money, if you are holding, $2 million and you're receiving 8.6% on that, and then all of a sudden you're talking about $170,000 a year, is that a good place to park that sum of money and safe? I think so. And would I hold a couple of $1 million with BlockFi? I would. Yeah, Peter, I just didn't grow up in a culture that was about rugby. And otherwise, I would be. Right? If I grew up in a culture that was about rugby, I would have loved rugby. And rugby is much different than American football, but similar enough that both sports didn't take really root. Yeah, I don't know about that. Silver is tough to clean. It gets really dirty really quickly. That's also one of the reasons I favor gold over silver. I have to put that up on the board. New York Island. Have a great weekend too. Thanks for being here today. I don't know, just a quick whatever one word comment of what you thought of this Friday session. I've been getting a lot of feedback that people have been enjoying this week's morning sessions and then again in the afternoon. So again, this one is different, but I was all about it. We started off hard. Northport, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place to live. US dollar, Japanese yen, it's been very edgy. It's been very neutral, right? Let's look at the US dollar, Japanese yen. Pull that up over here. Zoom out. I'm going to go to the 3 day also. All right. So if we're looking at further dollar weakness, is the Japanese yen the pair to play that? Are we seeing risk off? No, we're not seeing risk off. Japanese yen risk off pair. Are we seeing a retrace right now? Yep. So if we're seeing further U.S. dollar weakness but not seeing risk off, where would I want to be positioned? Right. So that might look like something either like the euro U.S. dollar, that might look like the pound US dollar, that might look like gold looks, good versus a weak dollar. Or what about the US dollar Mexican peso? What about the US dollar Mexican peso? You're seeing today as the markets are down a little bit today, you're seeing definitely a little bit pressure against the peso. But if we're gonna, and I'm in the camp that we see higher prices on equity markets, that we're not at the top, and it's much harder to call the top of a bull market than it is to get with the trend. So stop fighting the trend. This also looks like something to consider here. I think this is more aggressive, but this is something that also could pay off in the coming months a lot more than other things as well. So again, I had actually got long at 2180, and I am thinking of exiting that trade. Yeah, so I never really worked 9 to 5. I had, before becoming or making the jump to trading, I had my own lease financing business with a partner. We were a small business, and I mean, we worked hard, right? Entrepreneur always. Um, why doing that? Why operating that business? I just had this enormous passion for the markets. I spent as much time. Wow, being young is great. Researching the markets, being involved in the markets back then, as I did working, and it was just a natural transition. I really wanted the freedom that the markets afforded. And I was young, so I was able to go ahead. When you're young, you could take more risks that you cannot take as you get older, right? Because time is on your side. That's when you want to take risks. I was just talking to my 18-year-old nephew who's graduating high school and about to enter into college. He's gotten really involved over the past few months in the markets, but he's involved in the equity markets as most people from the US are. If I was young, right? All he needs to do is invest in Bitcoin and hold that for 10 years, and then that kid has a life ahead of him. That's my opinion right now. I'm sure he has some money that he's worked up and saved for. He's got that invested in equities. He's pointed out some random companies to me and thinks that like they might have a good future, right? Sound familiar? But at the same time, is Bitcoin in 10 years going to be trading over $1 million? unless Bitcoin breaks, I think so without a question, right? So what would he be better off doing? Would he be better off taking that $5,000 of bar mitzvah money and putting that into Bitcoin and then just going about his studies, learning a skill, a profession, a career, and then 10 years from now be like, oh my goodness, as again, back when I was that age, I could have done with Amazon. I could have done the same thing with Amazon. Today you can't do that with Amazon, but you could do that with Bitcoin. So everyone, it's 1 hour on the dot. Thank you, Gary. It's 1 hour on the dot. Let me see what else we got going on over here in the chat. Random chats with Jordan. Well, I don't think any of this is random. Any of this is random. It is Friday, though. It is Friday. Thanks, Peter. And that's, listen, they're all different. That's exactly what this is here for. And it's to give you just that extra. It's go ahead and have an extra eyes, an extra set of analysis to go ahead and bounce yours off of, as well as perhaps see things a little bit clearer. Again, it's kind of like that river that's running down. The river doesn't make a dent that first day. It takes all of that time for that river to carve its place into the earth. This is the same thing. It's day by day. Every day I'm learning about the markets, and I have been for 20 years, and I hope to do that without question. Well, for another 40 years, right? That's how interesting the markets are. That's how interesting the markets are, and hopefully, the next 20, actively, because I enjoy it. I really love it. Would love more entry-level spotting and less S&P Bitcoin market background on the live sessions. That kind of information fits great in the daily, weekly market videos. Yes, it does. I've been doing that on purpose, Danny. Now, earlier in the week, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we were really, and even yesterday, Thursday, actively looking for setups, right? Again, if you're in the training program, you know what setups you're looking for. You know everything that you should be looking for. People are not having that problem. But today's Friday. We're not looking for setups, and I'm not going to be looking at the charts with you for setups, because that would almost be like tempting you to take setups when you should not, right? It is a guide. I do act as that guide, and I want you to be focused where you should be focused on in the market right now. If you're not trading profitably, right? Let's make this really easy. If you're not yet trading profitably, you should be trading on a demo account. You should be working with me in the program, and you should probably, you can really highly consider being just invested in Bitcoin as you go ahead and spend, the next 3 to 9 months learning this craft and getting yourself to a place where you are constantly profitable and could work towards meeting your goals. It's not going to happen by me going right now and showing you, where the setups are in the market. You should be able to do that for yourself. Now, we do our analysis when it's time for us to go ahead and look for entries. That's not right now. It's not right now. Yeah. So, I mean, my strategy itself is, is to buy as often as I can, right? So, it's not tied down to weekly. It's not tied down to daily. It's more than monthly, and it's less than weekly. Strategies. This seems to be actually something that is becoming common. Has anyone, by the way, Sean, did you see the video? If you go right now to the Bitcoin playlist, it should be at the top of the Bitcoin playlist. It was the video put out as far as Bitcoin in 2020, I believe, had something. The title closely resembles Bitcoin 2020, and that gives the absolute perfect plan, I believe, of what we're looking at and how to accumulate. Check that out, but I could definitely be expanding on that. That's what's important right now. Yep, either would I, Thomas. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate that. Thank you, Tom. Yep, James, let's look at the euro. British pound right over here. And so this is something that we were watching earlier in the week, right, Tom? We were watching the breakdown of this support over here. It looks like a head and shoulders, right? And we've looked at price targets down to the downside, and that's coming back towards this support over here at 0.88287. If you got into this trade earlier in the week, right, you could have had two possible entries depending on time of day, either right over here on this red bar down bar, or two price bars later, right over here. This looks like a London session move. That looks like the entry over there. And then right now you're holding this trade, right? You're holding this trade. Oh, I know that's a lot of profit, especially for someone, if you're having a hard time being on the right side of the market, then all of a sudden that might seem like a lot of profit, but that's a very small move. That's only a one-to-one risk to reward. You're just getting started on this trade. Look, you're not into any type of support here where you should be worried. You're making the first resumption out of that first pullback. This looks super, super healthy. Right now, are you moving your stop loss to break even after you come out of that first resumption downwards, or moving your stop loss maybe even to lock in a little bit of profit above that last swing low, or you're just giving it room, as much room as possible? These are the things that you're asking yourself, and looks really good over here. Thanks, Sarah. Hope you have a wonderful weekend as well. Really enjoy it. So that's something you need to keep then doing research on and figuring out. If you're wondering if you should go all into Bitcoin or accumulate over time due to volatility. So that this is a question I can share my opinion on. If you had X amount of dollars right now, if you had $10,000 right now and you wanted to invest in Bitcoin, do you buy all in at Bitcoin at 9,100, or do you look to dollar cost average? So my opinion would be, as we're right here printing the second red dot, that I would go all into Bitcoin and then continue to look until Bitcoin was trading above $30,000 to continue to accumulate Bitcoin, whenever possible. That's what I would do, but that's not investment advice. That's my opinion on what I would do. Brad, good to see you this morning. Good to see you this morning, Brad. It's a rough sport. That wasn't until I tried playing soccer with some kids from Greece. Man, rougher than hockey. Oh, William. So we just had a liquidity crisis. In March, we had a big liquidity crisis. Bitcoin traded down to $3,800. This is all on the live streams as well. We were buyers over here. And throughout all of this was a huge accumulation stage, still holding those positions, not giving up those positions, simply not giving up those positions. Thanks, Adam. Good vibes in here. You guys always bring the goods. You guys are great. And it is the weekend. Let's go on. Let me check over here. S&P is down now 0.24%, still resuming off the support, holding the support down over here at 31.23. What else is going on the NASDAQ? Down off its high. Really nothing's happening, right? By the way, how far is the NASDAQ off its all-time highs that people are calling the top? NASDAQ is down 0.86% off the all-time high, and people are calling the top. Guys, thanks always for your presence, for making this community what it is. All of you, really grateful. Thank you guys for keeping me humble. Appreciate that, Kamar. Listen, everyone. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. I'll be putting up some videos this weekend. Actually, this afternoon there'll be a video just it's 2 minutes long, just as like a trailer for the channel. Hope you enjoy that. I was watching that video last night several times, and I was like, I like this video. That this is a good video, and so profit taking Friday. Thank you, Juliana. David, great to see you here today. Everyone, have that beautiful, beautiful weekend. Rest up. Keep that burning desire. Next week's going to be a great week. I was hoping going into Wednesday, this one looked like it was going to be killer. Markets pulling back just a little bit, making it more difficult. Nothing going on though. Nothing going on. Let's go out with some exit music today. Let's go out with some exit music today. Because it's Friday. Got a little daps going on by Miguel. Thank you, T. Thank you. Go get it, Dream Dresser. My experience, the first million is not as hard to make as it is to keep making that second million. Definitely tougher than making the first. Hey, thank you too. Thank you. I'm grateful. Tinkar, what's going on? Great to see you. Thank you, David, so much for everything you add. Appreciate it. Trend line. I think you could go to northmantrader.com. You could look for this chart, but I don't think you need to draw a trend line on the triple Qs. Steve, I lately I've been buying off of BlockFi. There's a link in the description below. It's just a wire transfer. It takes the wire transfer same day, and then it posts the BlockFi within a couple hours. It's very quick and easy. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate that. We'll look at GW this weekend. There's no trade to be had today. We'll look at that going into next week in the weekly Forex forecast. I'll make sure to look at the pound Japanese yen. Some DApps by TJ. Thanks, Will. I appreciate that very, very much. That's awesome, William. Yep, Dan, I loved it. Thank you. Motocross. Nice one. All right, everyone. I'll talk to you Monday.